Hello, so here we go with a full marks component 1 A-level graphics project. It is pretty long, as you'd expect if it's on full marks. It's over 300 pages all in all, so I will go through it quite quickly. Don't worry, it's not going to be the length of a feature film, this thing. It's a really thorough mind map, isn't it, straight away. So his sort of starting point was looking at the environment and the natural world, but fairly quickly he's decided that he's going to make a travel guide. So it is there sort of on the original, but it does tend to get straight into that, although he's got a lot of ideas to begin with. So looking at inspirational imagery, as most projects would do at this stage. Already you can see that he's got quite a lot of sources in here, but he is breaking stuff up and writing confidently about the artist who he's coming across and doing proper image analysis and breaking down visually. So sometimes we call this visual disassembly of the image, and although he's wrote about it, is shown very quickly to the moderator that he understands how this is laid out, how it's structured. So that's always a good shout to do. He tends to do that for a lot of his analysis. So he'll have a written piece and then he'll also grid it up. That would be another phrase that we use for visual disassembly. It's a little bit easier to roll off the tongue, isn't it, gridding it up. So far he's looked at 3 different artists, in fact actually possibly 4. He's done a photo shoot, so it's a travel guide, makes sense for him to show his own travel photographs. I've skipped some slides in here because Peter, the student whose work this is, he had some photographs of himself in there, and he's kindly given me permission to show this work to you all, but I'm sure he wouldn't really want his sort of holiday photos of himself popping up. So here he's taking apart like what topics could he actually put into this thing, and he's not going to go down the conventional route. He's going to look at like the cynical side of tourism and actually picking apart the fact that a lot of these countries that people visit and they put on their Instagram reels as if it's perfect have a lot of issues behind the scenes. But at this point he's just having a look at how travel guides are structured, so the layout and composition of them. He's got Joseph Muller-Brockman in, so he's got another artist, more traditional. This is a book that I gave him to have a look at, and it had like a little sort of slip cover on it, so it looked like a pack of matches, and you sort of slid the book out of it, had this sleeve designed, and he really liked that. And this is his photographs of the book that he's edited, and he's basically decided at this point that he's going to make his travel guide have a bit of a sort of similar feel to it, where you slide it out. It feels a bit more unique that way because you're almost revealing it, a bit like opening a present. This is his version of, I suppose, thumbnail sketches, but he's just planning magazine content at this stage. So although he does get to something that's a bit more familiar if you're thinking about thumbnail sketches, that's just planning the layout. He's having a look at the countries, finding out what they're really like. And also there's imagery like over here. It sort of seems like it's just an image he's putting on that page, but when you see later on how this connects to his work, it really does help starting to see like the full journey, and you can understand his decisions when he gets on to the next stage. So at this point, what are we into this? We're 56 pages in until he's actually started doing some sketching. So that shows you how thorough this thing is. Okay, this phase here, I just want to sort of come out and show you, because this is like the main reason that people give away marks, in my opinion. So at this point, he's going to look at designing the front cover. So it's going to be from this sketch, and it ends up being that. But before he gets to that stage, he's shown every single adjustment that he's done. So there's very little written on these slides because visually he's just showing his progress. I'll go back onto him. But it lasts for about 20 pages, this section. And some of my students, they're capable of making designs like this, but they kind of just appear. They don't show like, justified type, and then that clearly looks terrible. So he's gone back to the drawing board and started to sort of look at whether he justifies it to the left. And then he's done a kind of custom typeface later on, and You know, it's all just little adjustments that, you know, looking at whether the font's going to be italic, whether it's going to be bold, things like that, which you do on screen a lot here, but you don't actually show it. And it's quite subtle. You've got to sort of read through this project properly. I know I'm going through it quickly, but it says this book isn't about travelling. So it's about the topic of travel. Don't class it as a travel guide. It's sort of hinting here at what's to come, but that could be overlooked. Just looking through this as quickly as I'm going through it now. So colour scheme changes. Looking flat pack, how's this thing going to look if we're going to do this slip off case like on the Tank Matchbox book earlier on. Every now and then there's like a key bit of writing, so he's kind of pointing out, okay, I'm taking influence here from, I've watched an old Nintendo video and it had a section about these cards that he wants to sort of incorporate a similar feeling, and you know, things that I wouldn't know as a moderator coming through this for the first time, like unless he said it. When you see it side by side, you can see the subtle differences, and it's these variations that are helping get him extra marks. So a bit of research here, he's incorporated a video, which is a nice touch, so you can see the exact sequence that he's referring to. This does end up inspiring like an alternative front cover, and when you see what he ends up doing, there's definite similarities. So I'm just going to advance a load of pages here, because he spends about 30 pages now showing you how he's making every single element that appears on this front cover. Time lapse is really nice. Just screen recording. It's better than a step by step. Now I shaded in the cow's jaw, then I went under his hoofs and added some extra details, blah 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 blah. Nobody wants to read that. Just show me a time lapse. I'm happy with that. So the idea with this is, it's a bit abstract. I don't know if it'll come across well in this video, but this cow was going to almost like beam down from space or beam up from the bottom, depending on how you pulled this sleeve off the book. He ended up kind of scrapping that idea towards the end, but the final design, look how many elements there is in this, so I'm just going to have to sort of get to the right point here. I will come back and show you this sort of stuff, but every single element that appears within this front cover, so we're sort of getting somewhere now towards the final outcome. There's a bit of research in there. This is a train that's passing on a billboard, so everything on there has been broken up over the previous pages. Is showing colour choices, style choices, different ways of even drawing the characters or the cars, or you know, the billboards and things like that. Whether this has got like a tight half-tone pattern on it or a wide one and things like that. And this is like an overlay that he did just on acetate, where he's basically annotating after he did a large format print of it what he would edit. So actually thinking, if this is going to be a poster now rather than a book cover, because sort of running out of time with everything that he's done so far, how could he look at improving it further? And then he's documented that stage. It's so subtle. Like, can you see there's more texture applied there and over in this area, and certain characters have changed colours. Like, it's fundamentally the same scene, but there's just some minor tweaks to it. So I'm just going to go back, because if you look, we're on page 215 by now. So I have gone through this quickly, I know, but let me have a look through. So it's about 100 pages that he's taken to show you the design of this front cover. And there'll be elements in this where you've not even noticed them yet. It's like he's got a DeLorean car here from Back to the Future, and he's shown how that's made. That's a very small feature on the final cover that he's designed. And you can sort of get a sense of what sort of student Peter was, because I wouldn't advise everyone to do this, although it did cheer me up when I was marking it. But he's put a QR code on the back of this car. You can barely notice it on the screens when you're first looking at this work, but that QR code pops up with a a Rickroll video. So if you know what that is, I'm sure you do. It's a Rick Astley video that's fairly infamous for being turned into a meme and stuff like that online. It kind of shows he's got a sense of humour. I don't think you all need to put a QR code of a Rickroll in there, but it kind of shows good knowledge, really. It's like if that was a marketing thing, you could imagine that getting quite a lot of sort of chat, you know, whether people thought it was silly or they thought it was genius. Like, no publicity is bad publicity. And yeah, that's what it is. If you're trying to use the QR code, if you spotted it, it's probably ruined the secret. But yeah, he's put a QR code of a Rick Astley video in there. Okay, so early on, we looked at the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and that ends up featuring, let me jump around a bit on this project, ends up featuring more of his sort of promotional material later on, because he does an illustration sort of taking the mick out of people who are photographing themselves on holiday. I mean, there's so many like genius bits in this. So this is a piece of work that he did in first year, where I got him to do an advertising feature for the back of a magazine, and he did an advert for bread. You know, everyone's picking stuff like Adidas, Nike, Vans, you know, like companies that are sort of mainstream. And he went, I'm going to advertise bread, and did this illustration of bread that's fairly realistic with the slogan, things go better with bread, like cheese, ham or some eggs. Make sure to eat your breakfast. And he's gone on to do a simplistic style based on the LG logo, but what could be used for the bread as well. These cans are brilliant. These are just billboard pieces again, but he's got different emotions through these 3 cans. So he's got character design in this, he's got typography, he's got layout and composition, he's obviously got illustration. That's kind of the basis of this project. But it's just so thorough. There is a few key phases in this project where, as a class, they've had to look at certain companies, and I think sometimes they're a little bit shoehorned in because, you know, we kind of have to cover certain things with the students, but Peter did a really good job of making them relevant still with his writing. He's found ways of incorporating what they're trying to talk about within that work. Okay, so I'm just going to go through. If there's anything in here that you like, obviously, just pause it and you'll have a little look. So at this stage, it's planning for the sort of double page spreads that are going to be within his travel guide. And look how much of a bodge these sketches are. You know, I'm not offending him by saying that, I'm sure. But I can tell what's going on. You know, he's going to have some text down here. He's got someone holding a sign or a banner up. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, yeah, there it is. Image of man holding sign. Just putting the text there, like, fully clarifies it. So you can see the standard of these sketches. They're not brilliant, but they get the point across. You know, you can tell roughly what is going to appear next, and it is just meant to be quick planning for the student, and also just showing the progress for whoever's marking your work. So the focus is going to be Dubai, and is trying to get across that although it looks like it's all glitz and glam, actually, if you turn the corner, people are living in slum towns. A lot of people are treated very badly whilst they're constructing these buildings for the wealthy. It's not as glamorous as it first appears, and he wants to expose that. So something with this kind of content, he obviously can't just nip to Dubai and go and photograph these things. So he's using some found imagery. And I think I always say to my students, if it's something you can photograph, then you're expected to go and photograph it. But if you're not able to do that, you can't get marked down for relying on some secondary sources, providing you're showing that, you know, you're doing something that's still skilled with them and you're not just relying on the pictures. So he's saying he's accidentally made a logo that would look pretty good because he's doing a kind of contouring effect that he quite likes. But that's just a bit of a side note. He does use it for something that's relevant to this double page spread. So his final outcomes with this double page spread printed to scale, a massive, I think, A0 version of the front cover that had the kind of sliding cow coming from the sky, and then a large format print of this illustration. So he's got the little human, almost like a parrot on his shoulder, both having the ice cream, both making out they're living their best lives, and kind of looking a little bit ridiculous. But I think most of us could relate to that. This idea that when you go on holiday, you've got to sort of show people that you're having a good time. Something funny did happen with this work, and I don't know if you've spotted it already, but I marked this. I didn't realise either, but it's got a bit of a typo on it. So he put tourism rather than tourism, which we did amend before the moderators came in to see it. Thinking right back to that starting image on one of his inspiration pages here, it's coming in now. He's not just simply tracing over him, he is kind of characterising them, and the proportions are obviously sort of being based upon this lady here, but it's still clever and it's still skilled, There's not that many people in the original scene. He's adding a few more figures to say, how ridiculous is this that everyone goes to the exact same spot to get the exact same picture? Like, nothing's really truly creative about it, and it's a little bit cliche. So that was going to be part of this double page with the tourism piece on the left, but when the moderator came in, we just printed the piece on the left out, A0 with the front cover, and then if I remember right, I think we did have an A3 version of this illustration at the bottom because it is still really good. So at the end of his portfolio, he did include other work that he was doing at the time. There was like an Adobe contest that ran throughout this year, and Peter was one of the winners on more than one occasion for this. So he's just included what projects he did there. So this is all optional, but I always say to him, if you've got good stuff that would appear out of place if you put it in the main body of your portfolio, then get it in. You always run the risk that the moderator's going to get to this point and just think, it's just showing me some other work, I don't want to see it. But I'm a moderator and I would always flick through it because you never know what you're going to find, and it's still graphic design at the end of the day. So in total, what we're on, 300 pages. He's undeniably very talented at illustration, and his research is really thorough. His planning is super thorough. But could most of you do this project? Yeah, I think you could. Like, you might not pick the same subject matter because unless you are talented at illustration, and he's also really good at animation too, why would you pick it? Pick something a little bit more to your skill set. But the main reason I wanted to show my students this work is just to show how he's presented it, and that idea of breaking everything down. So like, there's sections here that I've skipped through, but when you look at them, it's showing you everything that he's thought about. So I don't even need to speak to this student to know exactly what's going through his mind. There's the initial drawing. There it is as a final piece. And then now he's breaking it down. He's showing us the video that he's used to create the sort of grain and texture effect in Illustrator. And then we go into exactly how he's applied that. And he's just testing it out at the moment on a sphere, which look quite nice just by themselves. Then we see it applied to the balloons, and we're starting to put it onto the bear's body. Little outline view. And then we move on. But again, same level of detail coming through, building it up, scene by scene, so turning layer visibility on and off, things like that. Before and afters, during the process, you get the drill by now. Okay, I hope this video has been useful for you. If anyone's got any questions, let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, catch you in the next one in a bit.